Hi everybody, welcome into the New Orleans Saints Postgame Show presented by Mercedes-Benz. Unfortunately, the New Orleans Saints fall in the divisional round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30-20, and JD simply said 4 turnovers for the offense was just too much to overcome.
Yeah, you turn it over 4 times against a bad team, and it's going to be hard to win. You turn it over against a good team, it's going to be just about impossible to win, especially if you don't balance it out by getting your own share of turnovers. The Saints didn't do it. They put the defense in a really, really difficult position in this entire game. I thought the defense, overall, if you look at it, played well enough to win this game, but you keep giving a defense short yardage drives to defend, and sooner or later, an offense as good as Tampa Bay's is going to crack it through.
Absolutely. Well, we are awaiting head coach Sean Payton and players to come up to the podium. That should be happening momentarily. We will get you over to that as soon as possible. JD, you mentioned it, the 4 turnovers, too much for the defense to overcome, but overall the defensive performance from the Saints, pretty good. Yeah,
defense played well. I mean, they didn't sack Tom Brady as many times as they did in the 2 regular season games. They didn't turn him over as many times. But defensively, I thought the Saints played well enough to win this game.
Yeah.
If you just look at not just the yardage totals, but the effectiveness of that defense for the good majority of this game. But again, if you put a defense in a position where it only has 40 yards to defend, or it only has 3 yards to defend on the first touchdown, then it's going to make it a lot more difficult on that defense. You can't be perfect defensively and as imperfect offensively as the Saints were.
Well, going into this game, we knew that it was going to take which team could play the complete 60 minutes. Sean Payton said that earlier in the week, and it really just seemed like that momentum shifted about halfway through the third quarter for the Bucs.
Really, if you ask me, it's the Jared Cook fumble.
Yeah.
The Saints were up 20-13, moving in position to score again maybe, and if they get a touchdown there and go up 27-13, it probably is a totally different game. Now you put Tampa Bay in desperation, but Antoine Winfield Jr., to his credit, tracks Jared Cook from behind, strips him from behind. The Bucs come up with the fumble recovery, take it to the Saints 40-yard line. They cash it in with a touchdown, tie the score, and from there they basically have taken all the momentum and they're able to capitalize and go ahead and win this game and move on to the NFC Championship game against Green Bay. If you're the Saints, you're going to look at yourself and you're going to kick yourself to no end because of those turnovers. But I thought that one was especially detrimental at that point.
Absolutely. Well, what positives can the Saints take away from this? Because you had Deontay Harris. He was explosive at the beginning of the game. Obviously, goes out. He was dealing with that neck stinger, obviously still affecting him. What are some of the positives that the Saints can take away?
Well, if you're the Saints, I mean, it's small consolation. I mean, Will Lutz made a couple of field goals. Deontay Harris played well in special teams before he had to leave with the injury. Defensively, I thought Malcolm Jenkins was outstanding. But again, when you lose a game that you've invested so much into, if you're the Saints, and they came into the season saying basically Super Bowl or bust, up and down the lineup, throughout the roster, everyone was saying Super Bowl or bust. And when you set your aspirations in that direction, and you have a team that has the mixed veteran leaders as well as the young talent that's old enough to understand everything, and you have reason to have those aspirations. They win the NFC South for the 4th consecutive year. They get the number 2 seed in the NFC. And for the first 2 rounds, you have home playoff games. Now, home playoff games aren't exactly the same as previous years because you don't have the home field crowd, but still, you get to sleep in your bed. You get to have your meals the way you want to. So everything was laid out for them to be in that position. And unfortunately, Tampa Bay came in and said, you know what, if we maintain our poise, don't try to do anything special, because it didn't look like Tampa Bay tried to do anything special. They didn't have to once they forced the turnovers, and they were able to capitalize and win this game.
Well, you talked about that turning point being the Jared Cook fumble recovery from the Bucs, but is there anything in the game plan, anything that you think specifically pointed to the loss for the Saints?
Well, no, not necessarily. I thought it was more execution than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in position, and again, Saints were up 20-13 at that point. So all they have to do is take care of the football, execute a little bit, and get another score, and at least you go up 2 scores. But they turn it over, and it comes back to bite them. If you turn the ball over as often as the Saints did in a game like this, and you don't force any, then you make it really difficult all across the board, because now all of a sudden your special teams might have to get you a touchdown, or your offense certainly has to be more efficient than the Saints offense was. And the Saints offense extremely inefficient in this game. And here we are.
Yep. Let's keep focusing on the positives. The Mario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, absolutely dominant for the Saints all season. We've kind of joked between ourselves of, if you tell anyone that, you know, the opposing receiver is named Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore is going to have his best game. And once again, Marshawn Lattimore does pretty well against Mike Evans.
Yeah, he did his thing. Mike Evans got inside of him on that 3-yard touchdown catch, got the inside leverage, so he's able to catch that pass. But for the most part, Marshawn did what he does against Mike Evans. I don't know what it is about Mike Evans' physique, what it is about his style, but Marshawn matches up well against him. And it still goes back to his rookie year, 2017, when Mike Evans ran up and cheap shot him from behind. And Marshawn has never, ever forgotten that and won't ever forget that.
And how much of a poetic justice was it that Jameis Winston, let's just get this out of the way now. Actually, I believe we are going to be heading to Sean Payton here at the podium. But while we wait on Sean Payton, oh, there's Sean Payton now.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, Coach. Go ahead, everybody.
In your opinion, does this simply kind of come down to the turnovers tonight and the impact that they had?
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought defensively we played exceptionally well, and unfortunately, you know, those type of things in a game like this end up being the difference. And you know, they scored 3 touchdowns off of our first 3 turnovers, and it's just tough to win a game, you know, against a good team like that when you do that.
You guys didn't seem to take any chances downfield. Was that because of how they were playing you?
Yeah, well, we had some down the field throws actually. You know, sometimes we're coming off to the underneath throws. You know, we had a couple double spears, and look, we made some plays down the field. Obviously, you know, not enough, but I don't think that was our issue. I thought we did a number of things well, and yet, you know, we just didn't have enough snaps and gave them some pretty good field position.
Coach, the Cooks fumbled there in the third quarter. You had a touchdown lead. Looked like you were driving to take a double-digit lead. How big was that in the game for you?
Yeah, they're all significant. It was a third down, a real good play by him, and obviously a real good play by Winfield, a headsy play. You know, that was significant in that we, you know, just crossed midfield, I think, and we're going to be first down. The drive to start the second half was encouraging, and I just think, look, it's hard to beat a team that's, you know, in the playoffs in this divisional round of the playoffs when you have that lopsided of a turnover ratio. And you credit Tampa Bay, they did enough things and played well to win.
Sean, if this is the end of the Drew Brees and Sean Payton era together, how do you encapsulate what he's meant to you?
Oh, listen, I think that's probably for another press conference. And I can't speak for Drew. Obviously, yeah, I would take up all of my time on your question tonight. And I think that I do think it's for another press conference. And obviously he's been tremendous for this team, this city. I could go on and on, but let's wait and answer that at the right time.
Sean, what do you think? What do you think went behind some of the interceptions in particular? Was there anything that you saw that kind of tied them together, or was it just kind of the way the
entirely different type plays? Look, the first one was a tight man-to-man coverage, almost a leverage play. The second turnover, I think, was on the third down conversion, the fumble, and look, we'll look at the film, and but I think they were different in each one of them. And then the last one, you know, we're in a little bit more of an aggressive mindset or mode, but you know, give those guys credit. They played well.
I really felt like Mike Thomas was on the mend. Did they do anything to attack him in a really effective way tonight?
No, listen, you know, he drew the matchup that we thought, and those guys competed. And you know, unfortunately, we didn't get enough attempts or enough balls his way. But that was part of the way that game was unfolding. We got a lot of man coverage and occasionally some zone. But you know, when you get into these games, there really aren't that many surprises. It's more about the attention to details, you know, and it's you know, guys going out and executing and doing all of those things, and that's the frustrating thing about the turnovers. But there was nothing, you know, a lot of man coverage, which is what you get from Tampa.
Sean, did you have to change your game plan it up at all when you realized that you didn't have Taysom and Latavius in there, or did you kind of have a sense that was going to be the case today?
Yeah, I think we kind of had that sense, and so we were mindful when the week began not to maybe draw too much attention to those packages. Each of them are different players, so and then I think, look, Deontay getting hurt. Man, he was electric to start the game, and I felt bad that he couldn't finish because he's given us a real good spark. But hopefully those guys are healthy, and I'll have a chance to check with the trainers right now, and then we'll have a meeting tomorrow.
How big was Tampa's offense on third down, especially in that second half? It seemed like you guys maybe just kind of struggled to get off the field a little bit there.
Well, look, I think it kind of went back and forth. Obviously, later in the game with the lead, it became a little bit more challenging. You could definitely tell that they made that conscientious effort to run the ball, and they did a good job at times with that. I thought we did the same thing. But look, it's a good team, and I just finished telling DA I thought defensively, you look at their first score. You know, if we look at drive starts, it was kind of the opposite of really the last game we played them in Tampa. You know, if you're going to look at where each team is starting with the football, it was kind of the tale of two different games.
Coach, how big of a problem?
Both of those guys, he and Levante, man, you know, just like our guys, they're fast to the football. You know, you've got to account for him not only in the run game, but he's real good in coverage, and he's a good player.
The way they used Fournette when he really got going, is this a game where you miss Quan Alexander? Did you feel like they kind of targeted Alex Anzalone?
That wouldn't be accurate. I think that no one targets. I mean, there's a lot that goes into, you know, defending the run. And like I said early on, man, we did that well. And then just too many downs you're defending. I can't say that enough, but that was not, you know, just one player. I think that would be inaccurate. All right. Thank you, guys.
Ill-advised pass on Drew Brees under duress, trying to lob one over a defender, and he didn't get enough on it. The last one, I think, was a tip pass, but the receiver wasn't particularly open, so that was a difficult one too. We talked about the Jared Cook fumble.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he'd love to have all of them back. You can't get them back. He'd love to have all of them back, but probably the first one more so than the other two, because that was one where all you got to do, throw it away, live to play another down, and he didn't do that. And generally, Drew Brees has been good about those kinds of decisions when he makes them, but he didn't make a good one in that situation.
Well, all year we've kind of been talking about the adversity and having players come in and out, and you saw that tonight. Emmanuel Sanders stepped up, Deontay Harris early, and different players for the Saints, but it didn't seem that Brees and Michael Thomas connection was there that we're so used to or so accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay played him very well, if we remember, back in the season opener. Did an extremely good job. I think he had 3 catches for 17 yards in that game. I don't know what his numbers were for this game, but probably in that area, if they were that good. Tampa Bay seemed to have the defense for Michael Thomas, and sometimes you get good matchups, as we mentioned, Marshawn Lattimore against Mike Evans. Sometimes you just get the horse for that course. And here's Tre'Quan Smith up.
Hey, Tre'Quan, how big were those turnovers for y'all tonight, just in terms of how this game ended up where it was?
Man, Luke, it was very big. I believe on every turnover we had, they ended up getting points off of it, and we didn't create any turnovers for them. And basically, they fed off our turnovers. And in any game, especially a big one like this, we can't make mistakes like that and have turnovers, because a good team like them will go down and make points out of it.
Next one's from Rod Walker.
Hey, Tre'Quan, just how disappointing is this when you look back at how the last 3 seasons ended prior to this one?
Honestly, I don't even have all the words, but it's like it hurts more and more, because we be right there, in control of everything. We just don't pull through because something happened, and we end up being on the bad side of it. But it definitely hurts a lot.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, Drew hasn't come out and said that this is it yet, but if he does end up retiring, what has he meant to you as a teammate over the past several years for you?
Honestly, man, Drew is kind of meant everything to me. Like it's kind of like I'm growing up as kind of like one of his own. He's just a great guy. Besides being the quarterback, a future Hall of Famer. Just if we're just going to talk about him outside of football, just him as a person, I believe he's a great guy, and he's somebody who's going to talk to you and help you understand if you don't understand him. I've just been feeding off of him and learning as much as I can from him. Long as he's here. It's just wonderful, having him around and just being around him in general. Honestly, I do hope he come back, because he's just a great guy, a great competitor, a great teammate, a great leader.
Next one's from Doug Mouton.
Hey, Tre'Quan, the long one that you caught from Jameis Winston, was that in the playbook before last week, or was that a direct borrowing from Chicago?
It was in the playbook last week, but it was a direct borrow. Honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be on that play. But things happened, and Deontay had ended up getting hurt. So luckily I paid attention in practice and watched everything. And I end up being the one making the play.
Next one's from Luke Johnson.
Deontay, the kind of tight man coverage that they were playing today, is that something y'all were anticipating, or was anything different about it than what you were kind of figuring they'd play?
We expected them to play a lot more zone, but they played a lot more man. But at the end of the day, when they did get in zone, we kind of knew what their go-to zone play was. But they did a great job mixing things up, and disguising the coverage a lot of the time. But we kind of knew. I won't say for the most part, kind of half and half what it was going to be in.
Last one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, obviously not the outcome that y'all wanted today, but it was your first game back after getting off of IR. How much did it mean to you to be able to go out and play today and have the game that you did?
Honestly, I was itching to be back with the team, with the fellas. Even though my performance was good or whatever, but I kind of don't see that. I kind of, I would take the win for 0 catches and 0 targets any day of the week. But it was a great feeling just to be back out there with the team, having that bond with the guys.
We're all set. Thank you, Trey Quan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's get questions in the chat for Alvin Kamara. First one's from Luke Johnson.
AK, y'all have been so good at taking care of the ball all season long. How uncharacteristic was that for you guys today, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, take all the emotion out of it. You turn the ball over 4 times and the other team turns the ball over 0 times. Shit, it's not a winning formula. So you can't turn the ball over and expect to win, especially not in the playoffs, especially not against a good team, So uncharacteristic, it cost us. It sucked.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, Drew hasn't announced anything about retirement yet, but how much has he meant to you as a teammate over these past several years?
He ain't announced that yet, so I ain't gonna say that. Drew is Drew. He's still my teammate.
Next one's from Mike Triplett. Mike, you're muted.
Sorry. What did Tampa Bay's defense do better, or you guys had more trouble doing in this third matchup that they were more effective slowing you guys down?
Turn the ball over 4 times. You can't. That's not a winning formula for any game. I don't care who you playing. It's just gonna make it tough. We turned it over once. We were still in it. Turned it over twice. Still in it. I mean, once you get to 3 and 4 turnovers, I mean, it's hard to combat that. I don't care who you are. So, we've done a good job of being pretty protective of the ball, and it was terrible timing to have those 4. Like I said, it sucked, but it is what it is.
Next one's from Larry Holder.
Alvin, just Drew aside, just every team's different each year. I mean, how tough is it when you play this hard, you play this well, and there's a finality, and you might not be seeing certain guys in the locker room next year? How hard is that to deal with each year?
That's the nature of this league. From coaches to equipment staff to training staff. It changes every year. The door is always revolving. It's people coming in, people going out. It's one of them things.
Next one's from Andrew Doak.
I know you guys the last 4 years have really felt like you've had a Super Bowl caliber team every year. What do you feel like is the missing ingredient, or what kind of sticks out to you most when you look back on the last 4 seasons and why you feel like you just haven't been able to get over the hump, maybe outside of the no call?
I mean, you guys are watching. You tell me.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, the Wildcat play with all of the funness of it, with Winston throwing that. Was that something that has been in the playbook for y'all, or was that something that you put in the playbook this week? And did you want to throw the ball after taking the direct snap on that one?
We put it in this week. That play wasn't designed for me to throw the ball. It's for Jameis. We scored it. It scored every week, every day in practice this week. It was kind of like it was an automatic. We just had to get it called. Sean dialed it up, and it worked just like we've seen all week.
Next one's from Andrew Doak.
And Alvin, did you feel like they did anything unique on Mike Thomas today that they didn't do in the previous matchups?
Nah, I don't think they did. They didn't really do anything exotic to Mike. He didn't have the opportunity.
We're all set. Thank you, Alvin.
Yep.
In the pregame show, the Wildcat, you anticipated it, and sure enough, it worked for the Saints.
No, I mean, look, I thought it might happen because Taysom Hill wasn't playing. They probably want to throw a wrinkle. I didn't know he was going to end up, pitching it to Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel pitches it to Jameis Winston when Jameis throws the touchdown. But I did think they would do something to throw Tampa Bay's defense. And I thought Alvin was actually going to keep it and run it rather than pitch it. I mean, I'll take the credit now if you want to give it to me. Don't get me wrong.
No.
Because, every now and then a blind squirrel kind of finds one. But, I didn't think it was going to work out that well. I'll take it.
Well, just how much of an impact did the absence of Taysom Hill and Latavius Murray have on the Saints today? Because we've seen them utilize in this offense a lot.
Well, I don't know. It's tough for me to gauge that because of the 4 turnovers. And so, you say, well, the Saints have been able to win without just about everybody. I think the only guys that I can think of who've played every game is Demario Davis, Malcolm Jenkins, Eric McCoy, Cam Jordan, Ryan Ramczyk. I think those are the only starters that played every game, and the Saints have been able to navigate around it. So I thought they'd be able to get around this one without Latavius Murray and without Taysom Hill. And they, I don't know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But if they don't turn it over 4 times, I'd like to see what their chances were in this game. Now, if you're missing Taysom Hill and you're missing Latavius Murray, you're missing that heavy thumper runner. And so you put Taysom Hill at quarterback, not only do we know he'll run it, but now he's been able to throw it some too. So you lose that element when you don't have him. And then Latavius Murray is just a good guy to have as a counter to Alvin Kamara. You can just run him up in there and just pound it. And defenses sometimes don't like to tackle a guy that big and that strong. So you lose that element.
Well, we talked about the stepping up in the receivers core, but not only in the receiving cores, but Ty Montgomery stepped up in a big way, not only in that Week 17 game against the Panthers, but he was also utilized today for the Saints.
Yeah, Ty Montgomery's got some talent. I mean, he can play. We saw it in training camp where there were some flashes on some days, and me and some colleagues were standing around saying, you know what? This guy, if you can get him in some situations and get him in the open field and get the ball in his hands, he can make some guys miss. He can do some spectacular things, and we saw some of that. We saw some of that against Carolina. We saw some of that in this game. Didn't see as much as we'd like to over the course of the season. He did get injured. He had that ankle injury, and a guy like Ty Montgomery, who is quick twitch and relies on quickness and cuts, that's going to affect him probably a lot more than everybody else.
And what did you think about the development of Emmanuel Sanders throughout the season this year? Kind of a slow start, getting his feet wet a little bit. Today you saw him utilized a lot. Let's take a look at his stats here. Emmanuel Sanders, 6 receptions for 48 yards for the Saints. Yeah,
I thought he became an extremely reliable target for Drew Brees or Taysom Hill or whoever was at quarterback. He's a knowledgeable player. There's nothing in the route tree that he can't run. I thought we saw that talent bubble up for him as the season went along. First, he was, I don't want to say he was swimming, but he was trying to acclimate to what the Saints were doing, what they wanted from him, where Drew Brees likes his receivers and those kinds of things. You miss out on all that when you don't have the OTAs and the mini camps, all those timing issues you can't work out the way you normally would. So as the season went on, basically the first 3-4 games of the regular season probably were his training camp. That's when his production was the lowest, and as the season progressed, his production jumped up.
Well, speaking of production, right before Alvin Kamara came on, we heard from Tre'Quan Smith. Tre'Quan Smith, that guy that just seems to do enough for the Saints today. 3 receptions for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we all know Tre'Quan Smith and Drew Brees go way back with that touchdown receptions against the Washington football team. It just seems like Tre'Quan Smith steps up in the big moments.
Every catch he makes seems to be a touchdown or a big first down. I don't know what it is about the dude, but every time he touches the ball, it seems like he's either in the end zone or it's a big first down. He just has an uncanny way of taking advantage when he's on the field. And a lot of that has to do with Michael Thomas being on the field, because who are you going to give your attention to? Michael Thomas or Tre'Quan Smith? Who are you going to give your attention to? Emmanuel Sanders or Tre'Quan Smith? Or Alvin Kamara or Tre'Quan Smith? So he's able to get those one-on-ones, and he takes advantage of it. The only thing with him is, unfortunately, for most of his career, he's had several injuries, and he hadn't been able to be consistent the way you like to see him. But he's a great downfield blocker. You see him make great contested catches all the time. And in situations like this game, you see him make a couple of touchdowns, and it's like, that's what the Saints see in this guy. That's why they continue to put him out on the field, because he can make those kinds of plays.
Well, speaking of development, and maybe not in this game specifically, but Marquez Callaway, a guy that has really impressed the Saints, and what do you think that means for the future for Callaway in this franchise? Actually, we're going to go ahead and go to linebacker Demario Davis at the podium.
Just kind of sum up what this one feels like after going through this the past 3 seasons as well.
Losing never gets easier. We just talked about in the locker room, the reason that everybody makes it this far is because they've never accepted losing. So it's going to sting, it's going to hurt. And it's tough, but you always have to put things in perspective. At the end of the day, we're still getting the chance to play the game. We're going to spend the rest of the night worrying, thinking about why we lost the game or what we could have did different. But it's people that's dealing with a lot more tonight. You got parents out there thinking about, whether their child is going to live to see the next day. You got people out there wondering what they're going to eat tonight. And so when you put things into perspective, we don't have no reason to do anything but keep our head high. You got to give credit to Tampa Bay. They played a phenomenal game, and they earned the victory. So it's gonna hurt. Because you just got to find a way to shake it off and rise from the ashes. A big thing I live by is life is 10% what happened to you and 90% how you respond to it. And so when you get knocked down, the only way you're going to find success is if you get back up.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Was Tampa doing anything different offensively and compared to the last couple of games that you played them?
They did a good job of coming at us with a balanced attack. They were able to run the ball effectively on us. They were able to hit us with a couple play actions. They did a good job of executing when they got good field position. And so you just got to give them credit. They played the better overall football game.
Next one's from Luke Johnson.
Demario, what was this? What was it like for you navigating this season, just with everything going on in the world, with playing a playoff game in front of like less than 4,000 people, all that sort of stuff? How tough was just this season in general?
I wouldn't say it was tough. It was just different. It was a very unique season. I told the guys in the locker room, most of the time, when you're a part of a championship group, as many seasons that we get to have a chance to play in life, those are the ones you remember. But this one, I think, is one for the ages. None of us will ever forget this season, no matter if we won it all or came up short like we did. This one was one for the ages. There's a lot of memories, just because of the uniqueness of this season. And so I think, number one, we're all blessed to be able to make it through the season all healthy. I think our hearts still have to be with people who have lost people and family members and people close to them during this world pandemic. And our hearts have to be with those that are on the front lines. Just, grateful for them. And so I think you just have to continue to keep it all in perspective.
Next one's from Andrew Doak.
Mario, could you describe what Quan Alexander brought to the linebacker core, and maybe when he got hurt, was that a concern for you guys going into the playoffs at all?
Quan is a phenomenal player, one of my favorite teammates ever. Plays with a lot of energy and a lot of passion. I think both of us, being Southern boys, Mississippi and Alabama, we think a lot alike, so it was very fun having an opportunity to play with him for those weeks. Definitely a blow when we lost him, but it's a next man up league. So we've been fortunate to have a great group in the linebacker room. So it's next man up. Alex came in and played phenomenal. So it's just the way it goes. And so when your time is, your time comes, you have to be ready.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Big picture question here. What has Drew Brees meant to you as a teammate since you've been a New Orleans Saint?
everything. You know, he's more than what's advertised. Drew is the reason why I came here. When I came to New Orleans, I wanted to help, Drew Brees win another Super Bowl because I feel like he deserves it for the accomplishments that he's had inside this game. I want him to have some more championship trophies on the mantle. And that was one of the major driving forces of me coming here, and it's been one of the reasons why I've shown up the way I've shown up every single day. And so, he's a great teammate, great leader, great man in the community, great husband, great father. Just an example for all of us to look to and try to emulate.
We're all set. Thank you, Demario.
And thank you, guys. Be blessed.
It was just terrible the way the defensive core played in that game because, they were playing against some really talented guys. So, I can't beat up on an Alexander or Demario Davis or Zach Vaughn or anyone else in coverage when you're trying to cover, Rob Gronkowski, who had a minimal game that I can recall, or Cameron Brate, who had a minimal game. Leonard Fournette was a lot more detrimental out of the backfield as a receiver than I think anybody thought he would be. So Tampa Bay was able to take advantage of that. But, look, it's hard to fault anything that you saw defensively in this game for me, just because I thought they played extremely well, had their backs against the wall for way too many times in this game. And, they gave up a couple of short field touchdown drives, and they probably shouldn't have been in that position at least three of those times.
A player that had a huge performance defensively for the Saints, Malcolm Jenkins. He finished the game with 8 tackles, 11 combined tackles, 8 solo tackles. Huge performance from Malcolm Jenkins. He had a slow start again for the Saints and kind of got his feet wet a little bit more, and huge performance.
Malcolm was phenomenal in this game. Pass breakups, we saw him being extremely physical. His coverage ability, we saw all the things that the Saints believed they would see in him when they re-signed him as an unrestricted free agent. Malcolm still got some ball in him. He still understands how to play the game. He still understands how to play it at a high level. He's not just a guy who's positioning players around him and telling them what to do. He's out there making plays himself, and I thought this might have been the best game he had this season.
I believe we're going to have someone coming to the podium. Oh, no, we have some time here. You finished with Malcolm Jenkins there. Trey Hendrickson. We don't know what the future for Trey Hendrickson is, but his development this year for the Saints was astronomical.
Yeah, and I think, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, so someone is going to reward him handsomely. I don't know if it'll be the Saints or another team, but, he's earned that. Now, we also have to factor in the fact that he played on a really good defensive line.
Yeah.
And he was able to take advantage of it. And that's all you can ask. Hey, when you get your opportunities, take advantage of it. 13.5 sacks this season, led the Saints. He got a couple of pressures on Tom Brady in this thing. Didn't get Tom Brady on the ground, but got a couple of pressures. So I think it'll bode well for him in the future. And let me add this. There's Drew Brees. Here we go.
First one's from Doug Mouton.
Yeah, hey, Drew. I hate to start with this, but is this your last game?
Well, I'll answer this question one time, and that is that I'm going to give myself an opportunity to think about the season, think about a lot of things, just like I did last year, and make a decision.
Next one's from Catherine Terrell.
Hey, Drew. If this does end up being your last season, was it worth it? Would you have any regrets about coming back? And if it was worth it, I guess what makes that decision worth it? I mean, it's so many hours and so much work. I don't know how to sum that up better. Sorry.
I would never regret it. Never. No complaints, no regrets. Man, I've always tried to play this game with a great respect and a great reverence for it. And man, I appreciate all that this game has given to me. There are obviously so many incredible memories, so many incredible relationships that have come as a result of playing this game. And man, you find out so much about yourself, and you have to fight through so much, when you play this game. And I'd say this season probably had to fight through more than I've ever had to in any other season in my career. From injury to all the COVID stuff to just crazy circumstances. Man, it was worth every moment of it. Absolutely.
Next one's from Jamarcus Fitzpatrick.
Drew, a lot of us have already seen the video when you were running off the field and you pointed up at the stands and everything. In that moment, were you kind of just soaking in the moment of, running off the field?
Listen, I always soak in the moment. And, I'm looking up at my family and I'm blowing kisses to my wife and my daughter and, fist bumping my boys. Yeah, I mean, they've become so much a part of this. And, as my kids have gotten older, and they're so invested in this as well. And so it makes the moment special to be able to share it all together.
Next one's from Sean Fazend.
Hey, Drew, just I guess what kind of happened in a few of the turnovers today was just a simple matter of execution, or kind of what went wrong there?
Well, a couple of them I probably shouldn't have thrown. Maybe forced it in there. I think we were probably a little off on just the kind of the overall execution, but I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, that's what this game came down to, was those turnovers, because all of those gave them the ball deep in our territory, and you can't do that with that offense. They're too good, and they're going to capitalize on that, which they did. So that was obviously the determining factor in this game.
Next one's from Mike Triplett.
Drew, is it possible that the result of this game or the result of this season could influence your decision on whether to play again, or you have to make peace with the idea that you don't get to write the final chapter?
No, this won't have anything to do with it.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, you watched the Kamara, Sanders, Jameis to Traquan play from the sideline. What did you see from that? And y'all put that in this week, right?
Yeah. Man, great play, great execution. Alvin seemed to draw a lot of attention, and that allowed Traquan to get through the middle of the defense wide open. Jameis made a great throw. It was a big time play.
Next one's from Luke Johnson.
It Drew, specifically on those turnovers, it's been something that y'all have been so good at avoiding, especially these last couple of years. Just how uncharacteristic was that for y'all tonight?
I'd say it's pretty uncharacteristic, because we preach, playing winning football, and when you turn the ball over 4 times, so you're -4 total in the turnover ratio, then that's not winning football, especially in the playoffs, especially against a team like that.
Next one's from Jeff Duncan.
Hey, Drew, what will go in to your decision making on whether you come back or not?
I'll keep that to myself right now.
We're all set. Thank you, Drew.
I guess.
All
JD, obviously Drew fielding a lot of questions about, what's in the future for him. You've been around him a long time. What do you think will go into his decision making on whether or not he comes back?
Well, he likes to decompress, exhale, take the emotions out of it because, when you make an emotional decision, sometimes that can be the wrong decision. Yep. So you get an opportunity to just sit back. He said he wants to talk with his family. I'm sure, his kids will have some input on that also, but mostly he and his wife, Brittany. It's 20 seasons in the NFL has to be extremely taxing on the body, taxing mentally. And so at some point, Drew Brees is going to have to decide whether or not he wants to continue to put into it what he puts into it, because he pours a lot into his preparation and a lot into staying ready and a lot into, maintaining throughout a season. Do you want to continue to do that? And I'm sure he'll channel that into something else if he doesn't do it in the football. But, he is maniacal in terms of his process and in terms of, the repetitive nature that he's able to continue to conjure, the best out of himself every year, even as he's aged. So, 20 years of that, at some point, he'll make a decision, whether or not he wants to continue to do that.
And he said he's not going to make a comment on that anytime soon, so we will await that decision. And, it's more than just first in the building, last one out for Drew Brees, right? It's so much more goes into it. But I have to get your thoughts back onto the Saints defense on C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because last year we saw a little bit of what he could be, how he could play for the Saints, how he could get people on their toes. And this year that just got turned up a lot more.
I said that I thought he was a Pro Bowl caliber player. I lied. I think he's an all-pro caliber player.
Wow.
The things that he can do defensively, he can change games, and I think he will change games in the near future. He can cover. He will hit people hard. He's a smart football player. And you add in the adjutant part of it. For me, that makes it even better because, I can appreciate that. He understands how to get in other people's ears and get them to do something silly as opposed to himself. Now, I'm sure other teams will figure that out at some point in time, but he's still a guy who's going to chatter anyway. But he's got the ability to be able to back that up. And so to me, that makes him an even better player, to be able to understand where the line is and to not cross that line the great majority of the time. And if we could backtrack to DeMario Davis, I thought he said some really poignant things about the end of the season and people, basically saying how devastating it is. And I understand, folks. Oh, Cam Jordan at the mic.
First one's from Luke Johnson.
Hey, Cam, I know that it just ended today, but how would you describe just the process of this season, just with all the kind of craziness that every NFL player, people who've been around a program, whatever, had to deal with to just even get to this point?
I mean, first and foremost, God has blessed me truly to not only seeing health this season, but health throughout all 10 of my last seasons, being with the Saints. Whatever every football player had to face this year, was seemingly, nobody saw it coming, and everybody thought, COVID would be over by the time season started. So when you think about what we faced, we faced it as an NFL, as a team. I think we did well in terms of following protocol. That has nothing to do with how I feel right now, but that's that.
Next one's from Mike Triplett.
Cam, obviously you guys had a lot more success getting to Tom Brady in the first two meetings. What do you think kept you at bay this time?
Also, without looking at the film, I'd say, you looked up and they were running at 4 yards a clip. That's something that they hadn't been able to do the two previous games. Without making them singly focused on, trying to air it out. He was able to get all of his passes out. I mean, he's one of the fastest releases in the game. We knew that going in. So if you take away the run, you got to pat the ball, maybe set a little deeper. And at the end of the day, we got to him early. We got in his face a couple times, but that's not enough. Just going to look back and just hate to watch this film and hate to go off to the offseason the way we did. I mean, the team we put together this year, the 16 games we put together to get a ticket to the playoffs, everything doesn't matter until you get to the playoffs. You beat Tampa Bay twice. It doesn't matter if it's not the third time. This sucks. I mean, for the guys in our locker room, for our team, this is something that I think we had a special locker room. But at the end of the day, we didn't get our win. We didn't do enough on the film. We didn't do enough on the field. I put it on, the D-line for not stopping the run. I put it on us as a defense for not getting the ball back when we had a couple opportunities. There were some major opportunities we had to play. We let those slip through our grasp.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Yeah, was there something in particular that they were doing on third down that was just not allowing y'all to get off the field like you normally do?
It's nothing that they did. It's what we did or didn't do. We didn't get to the ball fast enough. I mean, kudos to them. Again, they've got a potent offense, and we knew that coming in. We didn't have the third and longs like we had early on in the game when we were off 2 straight series in a row. These are something that, you have to stop the run to try and give yourself a better chance to get off a third down. It's something we knew going in, and that's not happened today.
Next one's from Luke Johnson.
Cam, you kind of referenced it, but I know these sort of losses don't get any easier to deal with in the moment. But I don't know, are y'all just like aware of just how hard it is to get to this point, and like how do you kind of look at it in a big picture sense? Once this is all kind of settled.
I can't even focus on big picture after we lost this game. I mean, you think about, we had a couple of short, 3 or 4 short fields. If we turn any one of those opportunities into just field goals instead of actual touchdowns, then we'd have our offense having another chance. Today, we just we fell short of our normal defensive expectations, our expectations as a team, and to fall short when everything matters, this game hurts. Big picture, I'll let you guys worry about that. I'll let the organization worry about that. I can only control what's in front of me.
Next one's from Amy Just.
Well, apologies for a big picture question. What has Drew meant to you as a teammate over the last 10 seasons?
Man, for the last 10 years that I've been here, for 15 or 16 years that he's been a part of the Saints, he's been everything you could imagine a leader could be. He's been everything you imagine, a quarterback who details his game plan, who, is first one in, first one out. Every stereotypical leadership core value you think of, Drew exemplifies everything that he does in terms of wanting to be a better teammate. He strives for that every day. And you think about what's been part of the league, 21 years now, 21 years?
20 years, yeah.
He's got 1 Super Bowl. I mean, that's phenomenal to say he's won one, but there's been a couple times where it's been within our grasp, and us as a team has failed him. Us as a team just didn't reach the heights that we wanted to. And it's really going to go down, especially this year, it's going to go down as one of my more fond teammates, one of my most fun times of being a Saint. This locker room was special. The way we grew together as a defense, the way, our offense corralled this year, for us to fall short, all of it sucks and hurts. And you think about, again, Drew, what he went through this last season, what he went through this season. I want more for myself. I want more for us as a team. I want more for him.
We're all set. Thank you, Cam.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cam.
Whew. Well, obviously a very emotional Cam Jordan, upset Cam Jordan, rightfully so. This is not the ultimate goal that the Saints wanted to achieve this season. A lot more left on the table. But on to next season. JD, any remaining thoughts from you?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a difficult offseason because it was a difficult way the season ended. I would imagine after everyone allows the emotions to kind of dissolve over this, if they ever do.
Right.
And then, you get down to the rational parts, and if you're the Saints, you're trying to figure out, what additions you're going to make, what losses you expect, and how do you get back to the point where you contend again, because, it's like Sisyphus. You keep rolling that rock up the hill, and you hope to be able to keep it up there and get over the hump at some point in time. And the only way you're going to be able to win it is to continue to get in it. You can't win it not being in the playoffs. So every playoff loss is going to hurt until you get to the ultimate goal, and that's just the way it is for any team that's in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Well, JD, it has been an honor. Elbow bump, my friend. Good post-game shows, good pre-game shows for all of our tremendous production crew that has put in countless hours and work. We say thank you to all of them. Thank you to the fans who have tuned in to all the hours and games and all of the production that we have put together. We say thank you for tuning in. Continue to tune in throughout the week. We'll have continued coverage on NewOrleansSaints.com, your Saints app, and of course on Saints social media. For Caroline Gonzalez, John DeShazier, we will leave you with these highlights.